On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we name some must-gets in the class of 2023 for Texas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. Yet again, thank you for putting up with this poor camera quality that I'm dealing with. If you want to help out, my Venmo is my same Devon Messinger, and I could get a new camera ASAP, but really just looking at some options. So if you guys have some recommendations, let me know down below. But Dylan, let's get on topic, shall we? Let's start off with our class of 2023. Some recruits to watch out for Texas. Now, this isn't a super deep dive in terms of listing the biggest sleepers in the world, but yet again, we want to get kind of a big board for who we should watch out for. So, Dylan, who's the first on your list?
Well, then put in a little bit of context. The first thing you're looking at, or comparing any program right now, is you're looking at Alabama and Georgia, how they built out their teams. Now, watching that national championship game, unless you're living on a rock, I'm hoping everyone watching this has seen the national championship game that Georgia won. But what stood out to me, obviously, what stood out to a lot of people, especially in the media, was how fast those linebackers were. Like, any just all over the field, they would always be there. I think Nakobe Dean, linebacker for Georgia, just flying all over the place. That's something Texas should probably look at emulate, especially trying to go into the SEC. And the best way to do that is getting guys like Anthony Hill. That's the number one linebacker in the country, Devon, out of Denton Ryan. He's 6'2", 225 pounds, but he doesn't run like he's 6'2", 225 pounds. He runs like a maniac. He's just a great sideline-to-sideline runner. When you watch him on the tape, he's everywhere on the field. He's great at getting into the backfield, creating that pressure. He's just a great run blocker and just can read openings like no other in that offensive line. So, Devon, for Texas, that'd be a huge get.
Yeah, and I got to see Anthony Hill a couple of times. He's been starting since he's been an underclassman at Denton Ryan. I saw him, I'm trying to remember, in this playoff game. I believe it was against College Station. Ryan ended up losing that game, but Hill even got some snaps at running back and broke out. I believe it was like a 44-yard touchdown run where he was stiff-arming people like Marshawn Lynch. I was like, oh boy. He's just got a mean streak, I would say, at linebacker. Linebacker and offensive line is really those two positions where you want that. And yeah, Anthony Hill, if I was facing him, he definitely wouldn't be my best friend on the field. I would be trying to avoid him at all costs. But I definitely think, for me, he's probably on the top of my big board on the defensive side of the ball. Now, Dylan, there's a lot of teams, obviously, after all the guys we're going to be mentioning, but for him, I do have legitimate concerns about whether Texas is going to be able to land him. He's looking at A&M. He's looking at Oklahoma and schools like that. So they have their battles. I know he wasn't at their junior day because I believe he was at maybe A&M. I could be wrong there, but he was somewhere else. But he has taken his fair trips to Texas, which is good for the Longhorns. Shows that he's got some visits under him. But yet again, we'll see. You got to cross your fingers there. But I do like what Hill brings to the table.
It does come with the territory, though. You're going to get those names thrown in like A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia. When you got guys like this, these are the recruitment battles you have to win, especially going into the SEC. There's a reason Georgia and Alabama are at the top every year. It's because they only have 5-star recruits playing on defense. So if Texas wants to get to that state of the program, they're going to have to get guys like Anthony Hill.
Exactly. You got to sharpen your iron and go battle the bullies. And, Texas should be the bully, Dylan, but it's been some time since they have been. So now on my list, you guys know the name, and I almost hate to bring it up because we all know the name. It's a household name. Arch Manning is on the top of my list. He's the number one player, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, in the class of 2023. Some of that, people are going to question, is that just name brand? I don't know. We're going to see, I guess, once he gets to the college level. But obviously, if you want a good football program, Dylan, quarterback is the most important position to nail down year after year. The Longhorns, while they've had some great quarterbacks as of late, or at least decent, I'm not talking about this past season, Longhorns fans, calm down. Sam Ehlinger was good, but if you want to continue a program like you said, Alabama, you need the quarterback gunslingers like Arch Manning out of Isidore Newman. Now, last season, he passed for, let's wait for it, 2,438 yards and 34 touchdowns to 6 interceptions in 10 games. Not 16 games like some of the Texas high school football playoff teams are able to do. But Dylan, what do you think about Manning? Would that be a big get? I mean, of course, right?
Well, it's a huge get, and it's crazy that how we navigate the transfer portal from here because it's like Texas could not get Arch Manning, but then Arch Manning could be here in 2 years. It's crazy like that. But I think Texas fans might be looking at, oh, we've already got Ewers, like we don't need Arch Manning. Again, you don't know how good Ewers is going to be in this program, and getting more talent is going to be what you want to, again, establishing your culture, setting the tone for the players you have in your program, creating that internal competition that every program needs. And maybe Ewers is the one that transfers again and Arch stays or does what everyone hopes.
Okay. Let me interrupt here. We're not talking transfers yet, okay?
I'm putting it.
Iron sharpens iron, though, which is what you are saying. Yeah, iron sharpens iron. So, I mean, overall, obviously, you want quarterbacks that are going to be able to challenge each other. Arch is now going to be 2 classes below Ewers if he were to come. And I believe Inside Texas has Arch as maybe not leaning towards Texas because it's too soon to say that, but right now, potentially at the top of his list. So that's promising. But Dylan, who's your number 2 big board player?
Well, Devon, for every team, you want to stack out your offense as well as give the quarterbacks you're talking to some talent on the outside. And what better talent than 5-star receiver out of Longview, Jalen Hale. I know I talked about him quite a bit during the season, and this guy's just a flat-out baller. He's a 3-sport athlete. He can just run past corners if he wants to, or he can put some little spice on it and use his great route running ability to get around them as well and just create a good first step, get open. I mean, when you're watching the tape on this guy, I don't know how it is that he's always open, and if the ball is underthrown and he has to come back and get it, he can just, I don't want to say easily, but I'm going to say easily just jump over the corner and catch the ball and just moss him in general. So this is a guy that if you're Texas, I mean, just adding even more talent would just be a very nice pickup.
Yeah, I do like Hale. Texas and Austin in particular, we don't like ice storms, Dylan, but we could use another hailstorm. Now, bad puns aside, I really like Hale. It seems like every week when I'm covering a game across the state and I'm checking Twitter, for some reason, he pops up with like 2 touchdown grabs, let's say 87 receiving yards and 6 catches. Texas needs receiving help. You've seen that in the transfer portal a little bit. They got a couple of guys in this past recruiting cycle, but yet again, we need a little bit more numbers and quality. I don't want to mention that we missed out on Garrett Wilson, Jackson Smith in the Jigba, even Marvin Mims if you want to say that. But Hale, I do like. Dylan, I know you're smiling over there. I do like Hale. There's some other receivers in the area that are really good too, but for me, he's at the top of the list right now. And the next player, Dylan, I'm going to go on my list here. You got maybe the real MVP that I would be wanting is Ruben Owens out of El Campo.
Oh, your boy.
My boy. Yes, the running back out of El Campo. He was named Dylan the Max Preps Junior Player of the Year. I covered 2 of his games this past season, and to say that he is maybe even better than a Madden glitch running back might be true. I think he is better than a Madden glitch running back. I don't have the exact stats from the games I saw, but I believe in both games he rushed for over about 250 yards. But I have season stats, Dylan, so don't worry. I got the stats to pull up. Now, if you guys like defense on this channel, you might be shaking in your boots. Last season he rushed for 2,989 rushing yards and 46 touchdowns. Did I say 46? Yes, I did.
That's an offense within itself, Devin. That's just an offense within itself.
Yes, and we know he's flirted with Texas in the past. I still think Texas has a legitimate shot at getting him, but yet again, as you said, you got to battle the bullies, the Alabamas, even A&Ms at this point. I know what crazy world we're in that we're battling A&M, the Oklahomas. They got to do damage against those teams in order to win battles like this. But Owens is a next level caliber athlete at the running back position. If you want to win games, especially with the current team's roster with like Bijan being the team leader, Owens could help you do just that. Now, Dylan, who's next on your list?
Well, Devin, not saying these next two picks aren't sexy, but these picks that we just talked about are obviously sexy skill position picks, but that's not exactly what's going to completely win you championships. Is going to be in those trenches. So bringing it back to the defensive line with Jordan Renaud. He's a 4-star defensive lineman out of Tyler Legacy. He's the number 8 defensive lineman in the country. And Devin, he's 6'4", 250 pounds. He started his high school career, his freshman year in Florida. He can pressure the quarterback and run through people like no one. Devin, watching his tape, he taught me a lot of things in life. Sometimes you can go around your problems. Sometimes you can run away from your problems. Or you can just run through your problems, which is what he does a lot with offensive linemen, which is what I've seen. So, I mean, he can just bully them, get right into the QB's face, and when he sheds those tackles, he's in the backfield within just a step. Like, he's just on the quarterback. He's got no chance. He's fast. He's quick. He can accelerate. It's quarterback's nightmare, Devin. So this would be a huge get to really bolster that defensive line for Texas, and just to have one of those monsters that can just take up two offensive linemen in a possession.
Now, I do like that pick. For my pick, I'm also going to go defense, more of a skill position here. I got cornerback Javian Taviano out of Arlington Martin. Now, when I have covered his games, he's basically the definition of a lockdown cornerback. I saw him in the opener last year against Lake Travis, and he shut down Caleb Burton. Now, Burton was coming off of an injury that basically derailed his entire previous season, so might not be fair first game for him, let's say. But Taviano has all the traits you want, and he's got athleticism too. He is featured on that Martin offense. Usually has basically a wildcat quarterback, which is very weird to see just given his build. But they just do basically power right, power left, and he just runs around the corner very fast. But I also like that he plays on special teams as well. I've seen him take back a couple of kick returns in the few games that I've seen. So we like talking about players that are going to be able to win their way onto the field and get some snaps. He's one that could do that. And personally, I don't know. I'm just really hoping he goes to Texas. I think Texas is in the race. Like all these guys, we're not choosing people that we don't think Texas has a chance to get. We're not saying Caleb Williams is transferring to Texas, but, I think they have a legitimate shot yet again. That's like my third time saying that with him. So who's the next guy on your list?
Oh, I'm going with another defensive lineman here. We all know, Devin, when we used to talk about Ethan Burke a lot on that Westlake front. But I'm switching over to the other side. I got a new man crush, Devin. It's Colton Basic, 3-star defensive end out of Westlake. He's not as highly recruited as these guys that we've mentioned, but, Devin, he is, most importantly, 6'6", 230. So having that on your defensive line is huge, as well as he's a defensive MVP in the Texas 6A championship game in which he had 3 sacks against Denton Guyer, Devin. So he could disrupt that offense. It's hard to get a ball over him with that long reach, those big hands, as well as he can get around guys with a good footwork, as well as just going through them with his size. So this is another guy that if you can add that to your defensive line, it's just another big body to clog up that line and stuff running lanes.
Yeah, I like Vosick. I saw a couple of his games obviously as well, and you said Burke and him are a great tandem on the defensive line for Westlake. And congratulations to new head coach for Westlake, Tony Salazar. We love our boy Todd Dodge, but he has a well-earned retirement tour that he just completed, like you said, with that championship victory. But Vosick just earned an offer from Texas at the Texas Junior Day, Dylan. So definitely keep your eyes on him. A Westlake kid, I believe the drive is about 9 miles to be exact, Dylan. So very close to home, to say the least. And I think he's definitely a player to keep their eyes on, especially since they considered Ethan Burke in that last class. Very similar build on that defensive front. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit, Dylan, here with my next pick. I went with more of a position group. I mean, is that fair? I don't know. I went Harrison Sewell, and I went TJ Shanahan. But more importantly, I went offensive line. Now, I do like what Texas is building in that 2022 recruiting class on that offensive line. And honestly, they might end up with enough pieces where they don't really want to take as many in the next class. But I say the more the merrier, Dylan, especially on that offensive front. I hear enough complaints on this channel that we don't talk about our big uglies on the offensive line and the defensive line. But here you are. I'm talking about it. TJ Shanahan, another Westlake kid. Now, Dylan, you're talking size and weight. 6'4", 300 pounds. He stays in front of guys. Westlake probably, in my opinion, had the best offensive line last year and possibly the best defensive line with the guys we already talked about. And then Harris Sewell out of Odessa Permian. You know, when was the last time Texas had a star from one of those West Texas areas? It might have been Cedric Benson, but yet again, Sewell, he is 6'4", 290, so not quite as heavy as TJ, but, you know, a little bit more time in the weight room, but more importantly, Dylan, in the cafeteria might, get him there. But yet again, offensive line, very important for me. Eating, just as important for me. I think that Texas wants to continue that trend, and I think they will do it. They've been good at being choosy, too, lately, which we haven't seen in years past. So, Dylan, what do you think about that?
I think that's a lot of food being consumed, Devon.
Yeah, a lot. What's your next pick?
Well, my next pick is going to be not weighing as much as these guys, but I'm going to be going with Malik Muhammad, the 4-star cornerback out of South Oak Cliff. He's the number 6 cornerback in the country, Devon, and he's not 300 pounds, but he is 6 foot, 170. They do some of the sites have him listed at 5'11", but Devon, as you can attest, if you're 5'11", we're just going to round it up to 6 foot. It's probably the best way to do things. But he is a 2-sport athlete, and he can use those track skills to his advantage, especially on offense and as well as his more natural position on the defensive end. The South Oak like to leave him in at cornerback or at safety or bring him in at wide receiver, and in all those tapes, he was just running past people on offense. He was able to hawk the ball on defense, reading the quarterback's eyes when he was playing at safety, as well as close any gaps at corner and keeping pace with basically any receiver he was in coverage with.
I do like that cornerback ad, especially now that we got 2 different cornerbacks on our list. I like Muhammad. I believe he transferred to IMG for like a short time period and then went back to South Oak Cliff, which is kind of funny and cool for me to see, especially after Salk was able to win a championship for the Dallas area, which has been greatly celebrated up here in DFW. But my next list, yes, I said list, kind of cheating again, but also similar position group as what you just mentioned at cornerback. I just listed athletes in general. You got Dalton Brooks out of Shiner. Obviously, that's a popular name in terms of small school football in Texas. Brooks is usually featured at safety and at running back for Shiner, but I believe long-term, probably the most potential for him is at safety. But yet again, get in the weight room, eat your sandwiches with TJ Shanahan and Harris Sewell, and he might be linebacker size, but I'm not advocating for that. Safety, I think, is the position to go, Dylan. We're not eating to get to be a linebacker. But I like Brooks. He's got speed, ball skills, all that. Championship winning culture is what he can bring. So that's one name. Next one, Bravion Rogers out of LaGrange. It's in the Austin area. He's got great speed for a cornerback athlete overall in general. And yet again, close to Austin. I think Texas can sell, literal home field advantage there, close to home, and a name to watch out for sure. I was kind of jealous I didn't cover any of his games once I saw him pick up an offer, Dylan, because I was like, I'm pretty close to that instead of driving to Houston and San Antonio all the time. But anyway, the next guy we got, I saw him play, Michael Harrison Pilot out of Temple. Last guy the Longhorns got out of Temple, at least notable and a non-walk-on, was Jared Wiley. Now, we said 2 videos in a row, Wiley's now gone to TCU, but Michael Harrison Pilot also stars at wide receiver and at safety. Now, for him, I think he has the option to choose either. He's that talented, and so we'll have to see. He's got big offers as well, but, yet again, Pilot looked good in my game. You're going to have to fight the beast. but I do like what he's got, especially, yet again, he's very close to home. Temple is not a far drive from Austin, so yeah. And we completed your list, right, Dylan?
We did. Lengthy one.
Yes, a lengthy one, but I hope you guys enjoyed. But more importantly, Dylan, who cares about us? What do you guys think? Who are some 2023 guys that you want to see Texas get? Not out of the transfer portal, but out of high school football. We talk too much about the transfer portal nowadays. Let's focus on some high school sports. Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great rest of your day.